Hey there! Today we will be looking at aging in different cultures. So let's begin with some simple definitions. So what is aging anyway? Popular definitions span from simply the process of growing old to more complex ones such as a set of processes which contribute to the deterioration of health over time, leading ultimately to death. Aging is a continuous process, and biologist Maggle Heiss puts it this way. The process of aging involves an increase in vulnerability and a decrease in viability, both directly as a result of growing older. Now that this has been established, let's go a bit deeper into the topic. The process of aging is fairly similar across the board, from a biological perspective anyway. So in this video, we'll focus more on the socio-cultural aspect of this process. It's safe to say different cultures across the globe view aging and dying differently. And believe it or not, these views have a massive effect on the actual process of aging. How so, you ask? Think about it for a second. For the most part, as kids, we all couldn't wait to grow up so that we could be what we wanted to be and do what we wanted to do. Then we became adults, and after realizing how stressful it is, we wished we could go back to being kids. The years turned into decades, and in no time, we begin to dread each birthday. The term old man or grandma start being thrown at us in jest by our family and friends. But why is that? Why is aging frowned upon the way it is? In Western cultures, youth is a thing of pride and envy. We're bombarded with TV commercials promising simply ageless skin, or reversing the aging process. We consider it a compliment when someone refers to your daughter as your younger sister. Things like, "Oh, you don't look a day over insert age here," bring a smile to our faces. But mind you, this is from my Western perspective. So let's delve into aging from a cross-cultural perspective.
Okay, now we're going to look at the evidence of aging in different cultures. Although immigration plays a small role in the aging of Canada's population, it does play a significant role in how we view and treat the aging population, which is important to take into consideration since Canada, as we know, is a multicultural society. The first study we're going to look at is called Perceptions of Aging Across 26 Cultures and Their Cultural Level Associates. This study was done by Lockenhoff and his colleagues. The method that they used was that they gathered 3,435 college students from 26 different cultures, 6 continents in total, who were asked to comment on their personal thoughts on the aging process from the physical, mental, and socio-emotional aspects. They were then asked to assess the way aging is viewed in their cultures. This was done usually in groups using questionnaires. 94.4% of the participants were natives of their countries. It is important to note that the participants' contact frequency with those from aging populations were also taken into consideration, as this can influence one's views on the topic. So now we're going to look at the results of the study. So based on what they found, it was generally concluded that aging is viewed negatively in most countries. Societal views were the opposite for China, Malaysia, Russia, India, and New Zealand. For these countries in particular, their cultures had a more neutral or positive perception of the older adults. With that being said, most participants, regardless of culture, gave high scores for increase in knowledge, wisdom, and respect when it comes to the older adults.
In conclusion, there are many similarities in aging perspectives across cultures. Wisdom is generally agreed to increase with age, while physical abilities decline with age. Participants from regions with larger aging populations and higher education were greatly in favor of the idea that wisdom increases with age. Culture has the greatest influence on aging perceptions that are least affected by physical changes that come with aging. This includes socio-emotional functioning and societal views.
The understanding from this study that most cultures have negative views of aging and the capabilities of the older adults shows that ageism is a global issue. The limitations of the study were that only 8 traits to rate the individual perceptions of aging were used, and the list was also close-ended. Cultural influences on perspectives on aging is far too complex, therefore the study would need to delve into far more detail and aspects to get a complete understanding of the topic. The sample only consisted of university students and mostly females, making it difficult to use the findings to generalize the population. The second study we're going to look at deals more in detail with the Asian cultures, because according to the 2015 annual report to the Parliament of Immigration, Asian countries such as China, India, and the Philippines are top countries for immigration into Canada. It is therefore beneficial to look more deeply into aging in Western cultures. So that means the second study we're going to look at is called The Modern Attitudes Towards Older Adults in the Aging World, a cross-cultural meta-analysis. So the method that they used was that they looked at 37 relevant papers made up of samples from 23 countries, and 21,093 participants were assessed with a goal of comparing Eastern and Western parts of the world and their perceptions of aging. The East refers to Asian countries, and the West refers to English-speaking and Western European countries. The hypothesis was that the Eastern cultures have more respect for their elders compared to the Western countries. All analysis were done using the Comprehensive Meta-Analysis version 3 software. In this study, it was found that Eastern cultures do have high expectations when it comes to respecting their elders, which is contrary to popular belief, they have more negative attitudes towards aging. In other words, many will follow tradition and do what is expected and respect their elders, but their true views towards elderly are negative. In conclusion, it is thought that these findings are due to high aging population in these countries. Many are finding it difficult to stay true to their tradition of taking care of their elders and are developing negative attitudes towards older adults as a result. This is especially true for Japan and China. Japan having the highest aging rate in the world, and China's one-child birth policy, reducing the amount of young people compared to old people. The highest elderly suicide rates are in China, Taiwan, and South Korea, and these rates are on the rise. This can be attributed to the elderly's high traditional expectations that they will be cared for by the younger generations, and the younger generations not being able to meet these expectations. This results in elderly abuse, and feelings of abandonment. Hidden and internalized ageism seems to be a big issue in the East. The limitations of this study is that it compared two very broad regions. So they compared the East in general and then the West in general. Although there are similarities between countries in similar regions, obviously, it is still not fair or accurate to group all these countries into only 2 groups. Every country is still very unique. These results may not reflect the general views of all the countries included in these groups, or the East and West grouping. So what can we conclude from these studies? The biggest finding is that ageism prevails around the world, and it is actually on the rise in the East. as they experience a rapid increase in their aging population.